everybody. Thank you for coming back to join me in part 2 of Alive and Thriving. Let's get my screen shared and get into the presentation. Welcome to Alive and Thriving. Awaken your true human potential by taking responsibility for your personal psychology, lifestyle choices, and holistic health. Claim your sovereign freedom and free your soul as you are guided by natural law and right moral action. I'm going to move forward to part 2. The effects on our children. What is freedom? How freedom is thwarted. Expanding consciousness, breaking the chains, the law of freedom, imagination, creative force, and your vision and legacy. So to review, in part 1, we looked at how the oppressive control system has insidiously woven its way into our everyday lives, leading to many people, I would say the majority of people, feeling unhappy, having poor health, living in fear, and resulting in an overall decrease or diminishment in freedom for all. Our children are at risk if we continue on this trajectory. In fact, our entire future as a humanity could be severely and detrimentally altered if we do not understand the concepts that I share within these presentations. If you are watching this, I know that you care. I know that you're feeling perhaps confused, maybe afraid, angry, determined, but powerless and unsure what to do. These pages that I share with you will give you some ideas that I hope inspire you. In our last section, in part 1, we introduced the idea that rule following can be dangerous, that rule following without conscious awareness or moral foundation can lead to oppression, the oppression that we are living in. I ended the presentation of part 1 with the question, whose rules are you following anyways? We're going to continue this exploration and self-reflection. What will the effect of oppression be on our children and the future? We need to seriously think about this. And if we look at the state of affairs now and the lack of real solutions to these problems, this future effect of oppression seems pretty dire. Is this what you want the future to look like? Little children and babies with masks and face coverings, being in isolation, children who are hungry, sad, alone, abused. Being good stewards of morality and freedom is essential for our children and a free society. We can't let our kids walk like lambs to slaughter while we just watch. A powerful quote by David Icke. So, what is freedom? Looking at the Old English root of the word, freedom, it means power of self-determination, state of free will, emancipation from slavery or deliverance, exemption from arbitrary or despotic control, and civil liberty. Free as an adjective from Old English frio, exempt from, not in bondage, acting of one's own free will, also noble, joyful, and from Proto-Germanic frias, beloved, not in bondage, from pi, priya, dear, beloved, from the root pri, to love. So there is a connection. When we look at the roots of this word, we see a connection between freedom and love. The sense of evolution from to love to free is perhaps from the terms beloved or friend being applied to the free members of one's clan. The suffix root dom from Old English means statute or judgment, jurisdiction, condition or quality. So freedom, the condition or quality of self-determination and free will, of not being in bondage and acting from love. I've added here something about constitutional freedom. which commonly refers to those freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution, such as religion, speech, press, assembly, protest, petition, and the right to bear arms. And I make a note here with a quote by Peggy Hall, a freedom activist. The Constitution describes the American form of government. It does not give us our rights. This is a foundational concept to understand that freedom is not given to us by government. Instead, our rights and our right to freedom is inherent. It's inherent and immutable for all people. So let's take a few minutes and brainstorm the everyday ways that our freedom is thwarted by government in our society. Here's a list that's only partial: taxes, being forced to carry identification cards, mask mandates, imposed health practices such as vaccines, fines and fees, economic inequities, mandatory insurances, personal monitoring, gun restrictions, building codes and restrictions, abusive relationships, licensing requirements, censorship of information, authoritative leadership, deplatforming or delicensing individuals who are sharing information or who lose their license because they break a rule that is arbitrary, mockery for nonconformance, curfews, invasions of privacy, search and seizure, threats of lawsuits, banning of healing substances, human trafficking, and more. Now, the key aspect to these items is that they are not voluntary. They are enforced through coercion and violence. So how do we break out of our chains? The chains of our minds, the chains of oppressive interpersonal patterns, and of political and governmental confines, many of which are immoral. We are seeking real solutions, not superficial band-aids to the problems we face. A quote by S.P. Novotny: "Listen with your eyes. People's actions speak the truth. Understand with your gut. It doesn't question, it knows. Focus on how something makes you feel, not on what you think. When you truly listen to yourself, you discover a whole new world." So I'll be asking you to go within and listen to your whole being, not just your intellect, but listen to your heart and listen to your gut. Listen to your intuition as well as your intelligence. From Albert Einstein, a reminder that you cannot solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. You must learn to see the world anew. Expansion of consciousness is a solution. Many people today have forgotten about the value of freedom, or at least have mixed up the meaning of freedom to be something it is not. We have become complacent, lulled to sleep by a basic experience of comfort, material security, and hedonistic pursuits. Often we live in anxiety or fear of losing this comfort that we value. Freedom and happiness are not actually bought or earned. They are the rightful state of every human being and are potentially available to everyone regardless of external wealth, status, or privilege. These qualities are internal states to be claimed with our thoughts and expressed externally through our actions. That which threatens people's freedom is evil. Freedom and happiness are integrally connected to living in a state of morality and congruence, or in other words, living in alignment with natural law. And I would add, living in alignment with yourself in your thoughts, feelings, and actions. If we do not claim our natural rights, freedom can and will be taken from us. If we don't teach and role model these principles, how will our children learn them? Living in alignment with natural law, being congruent with ourselves, and caring about life will ensure that everyone has their basic needs met and will open the door for true happiness, freedom, and spiritual fulfillment. The next section of this series, part 3, will go into much more detail about the concept of natural law and rights. For now, I want you to take away this very important point that the reality is that we are all in this together as one family, as brothers and sisters. A reminder by Mark Passio of What on Earth is Happening. He greatly inspired me on this journey of awakening, truth seeking, and understanding of natural law. And his work has inspired this series. So we are all brothers and sisters in the cosmic family. And therefore, we have, each of us, a responsibility for the conditions that we're living in. The law of freedom is this: freedom and morality are directly proportional. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality declines, freedom declines. Therefore, morality is key in creating the conditions of freedom and therefore happiness that we all seek. Another way of stating the law of freedom would be to say that the presence of truth and morality in the lives of people of any society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in that society. The more tyranny and oppression or slavery there is in a society, the less morality and truth exists, and therefore the less freedom. How do we create and repair the damage that is being done in our world and has been done in our world? Imagination is a prerequisite. Another quote by Mark Passio: imagination is the powerful ability of the human mind to envision a different state or condition than the one which is already manifested. Imagination must be present in order to create a different state of existence than the one currently being experienced. Because according to the principle of mentalism, for a different state to manifest in the physical world or plane of effects, it must first exist within the mind, the plane of causality. If the imagination is stifled or destroyed, total mind control, any positive change to our state of existence becomes completely impossible. We therefore must start with ourselves, and we must reflect on our own thoughts, on the state and condition of our own mind. We must evaluate whether we are living in a state of creative expression. Is the rat race that we're in stifling our ability to think creatively? Is it keeping us so busy and in anxiety and fight or flight that we don't slow down enough to reflect on on the impact of our experience? And do we sit and really think creatively about how we can make the world better, how we can improve our lives and extricate ourselves from this very dysfunctional and abusive cycle that we're in? Free will is our creative force, and life is a magical act. Let's find the magic in life again. This quote from a Wizard Factory interview with Will Keller. And life is the interplay between natural law and free will. How can we creatively work with natural law to create the outcome we want and to manifest the reality we dream of? The imagination is the paintbrush. Before we get to this point of creation, we really need to do some self-reflection, and we need to become clear on where we are and where we want to go. We need to envision. We need to envision what on earth is actually possible. It doesn't need to be the way it is. Everything starts in the mind, and if you can imagine it, it has a chance to be manifested. So here's some self-inquiry questions for you. What can you imagine for your life? And I recommend that you get paper and pen and that you screenshot these questions and perhaps come back with your pen in hand and write these questions down and spend some time journaling. So, what areas of your life are you satisfied with? Where do you feel free? What areas are you dissatisfied with? Where do you feel thwarted or blocked? And what do you value? What are your highest, most cherished values? And what percentage of your time and money is spent doing those things and contributing to those things that you value? What qualities do you seek to embody? How do you want to be when you're going through life and dealing with the challenges that we all face? Do you want to be calm, dignified, powerful, determined, clear? What qualities do you want to embody? Caring? What gives your meaning life and purpose? And what does thriving mean to you? And when you've identified that meaning, rate your current level of thriving from 0 to 10, with 10 being you're thriving 100%, which I would suggest that we cannot do in this sick society. We are held back by the conditions that we're swimming in. But where are you at in your current level of thriving? How do you want to live out your remaining years? What gives you a sense of purpose and meaning, again, in the life you're living, especially when you think of your mortality and why you're here? A lot of people struggle with this. What do you want the world to be like for your children or for future generations? What is the most important thing for future generations to have in order for them to thrive? Take some time and think about that. Can you imagine people getting along and living in unity? How could that become a reality? Can you imagine people solving problems harmoniously, voluntarily? Can you imagine what true freedom would look and feel like? Try to get a glimpse of that. And now, finally, are you willing to make sacrifices for the happiness and freedom of future generations? And I want to just add something here, that I'm asking this question not to say that you should give up yourself. That's the collectivist trick that you're being lulled into. Your happiness and your freedom and your thriving is essential in order for future generations to also thrive. Yet, in the current state we're in the world, we need to take action. We need to take responsibility to steward the life we want our children to have. And that will involve some degree of sacrifice as we step out and do something. Your legacy will be what? Go to your imagination and create a vision of your most meaningful life. Pretend money is not an object or a barrier. How do you want to be living your life? What would you be focusing your attention on? What would you be spending your time doing? With whom are you sharing your time? What are you thinking about? What is the predominant feeling state? What are you creating? Witness how your state of being impacts those around you in this ideal state. How does your energy inspire, support, heal? How does your state promote healing? How do moral principles fit into the solution? Compare this ideal state to your current life and now ask, what do I need to change in my current life in order to create the vision I just imagined? Create some action steps You've now created a vision, you've started a vision, and now back up to where you are now and start to write some objectives around action steps to get you in that direction. What can you do today? What can you do later this week? What are you going to do this month? What are you going to do this year? How are you going to wake up every morning? What habits do you want to add to your daily life to help you on this journey, on this mission that we're all here to join? As a friend of mine, John Rowland, said, freedom is something worth fighting for. Let's activate. Let's do it. Now, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I going to do to help this situation we are in? I'm going to leave you with that question. The next presentation in my series will be talking more in depth around natural law and our concepts of human rights. So for now, goodbye. My name is Leslie Powers. My website is alivethrive.life. You can also find my work on the One Great Work Network, released from trauma, guided by principles, empowered by freedom. Thank you.